Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. So the first, before I begin, I want to first bring up a hadith narrated by Nu'man ibn Bashir radiallahu anhuma. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: ألا وإن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. There is a piece of flesh in the body. If it becomes good, the whole body becomes good. But if it becomes spoiled, then the whole body becomes spoiled. And that piece of flesh is the heart. And so, subhanAllah, this hadith is talking about the
Oh yeah,
heart and the place of the heart
I joined the Zoom link by the way that was posted in the chat.
and the place of the hearts in our bodies, right? And the role that it plays, not just controlling our mind and the way we think, but also controlling our actions, our limbs, right? And so if our heart is inclined towards doing good, then our limbs will do good too. But if our heart is inclined towards doubtful or that which is forbidden, then it'll become hardened, less inclined to remember, and more likely to commit evil deeds. And the state of our heart, it's a defining characteristic. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala distinguishes the human being from the rest of creation just because of our heart. And so it is very important that we understand that our heart is an amana on us. It is a trust on us, that we take care of it, that we nourish it, and that we make sure that we are living up to the expectations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put on us, in the way that He has differentiated us from the rest of creation. Ibn Qayyim, rahimahullah, he outlined 8 things that he referred to as signs of a sound heart. 8 signs that someone's heart is pure and that someone's heart is in a good place. The first thing he said was, a person considers themselves to be belonging to the next world and not this one. And they feel that they're a stranger living here in this dunya and they can't wait to reach into the hereafter. And subhanAllah, I think that is just such a unique way and such a good way of putting it. Because sometimes, right, we get very caught up in this world and we think that, what we have now and the wealth that we have amassed, for ourselves, that is all we have. Or in a sense that the wealth that we've acquired is because of our own actions. And we forget that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who bestowed that wealth on us, right? And if we kind of internalize the idea of living in this world as a stranger, then that means we're able to kind of take a step back. We're able to understand that, okay, everything that's around me, that's all separate from me. That's not something that I have done. It's not something that my actions have, granted me and that I'm deserving of it. Rather, this is all just something that Allah has given me and is providing me with resources so that I can spend my time or I can spend my wealth in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next thing that Ibn Qayyim said, he said that a person who has a sound heart is a person who is upset with themselves anytime they commit a sin until they repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think that kind of speaks to just the amount of stress and the amount of workload that we take on, right? There's just so much stress that's in this world, from school to jobs, families, relationships, right? And we get caught up in it. And we start stressing about all those little things when, subhanAllah, we're supposed to be stressing out about our commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we have to understand that our ultimate purpose in this life is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so if we're not stressing out about that, then like what are we doing? Right? The third thing he said was, if a person misses their daily recitation of Quran or dhikr, they're more upset about that than if they had lost some wealth. And if we think about it, right, sometimes we kind of compartmentalize our religious life and our secular life. We think that, what we're doing religiously is separate from what we're doing otherwise in our life, in job, school, etc. Right? And that kind of causes mismatch, right? Because we're supposed to be thinking about our hasanat as as currency, as property, almost, in a sense that this is something that we own and this is something that we need to take ownership of, right? All the extra stuff, all the physical wealth that we have, that's not ours. That's not ours to mess around with, to play with, and to hoard, right? The fourth thing that Ibn Qayyim said was, the person finds more pleasure in worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than eating or drinking. And I know this is hard for my brothers in Jersey or Dallas or Chicago. But we have to kind of always kind of remember like how are we prioritizing our material world? And this is a common theme that we see in the discussion of the sound heart, because having a sound heart is really all just about understanding our place in this world and understanding that we can't be looking at this world as the end all. The end all is the akhirah, the Jannat or Jahannam. And so everything we do has to focus and revolve around that. The fifth thing Ibn Qayyim said, he said, when they begin their prayer, their worries and concerns about the world leave them. And this is a hard one, I know, right? Like, what if when you're in Tarawih and you're listening to the Imam, sometimes it's very easy to just kind of zone out and start thinking about what you did that day, what you have next coming up, the assignment that you have due at 12 o'clock, and the Imam is still doing witr at 11:30, right? Um, so making sure that when we're in Salah, we have to have khushu'. And I think like my personal like tip or one thing that really helped me was understanding what I'm saying in prayer. Making sure that I understand what does the Fatiha mean. Making sure that I understand what each of the supplications mean as you go through the prayer, right? Um, and having khushu is honestly the best way for us to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we have to remember that when we're in prayer, we're in a conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is right in front of us. And so we have to take that opportunity to make sure that we have khushu and that we're giving Allah what He deserves. The sixth thing that Ibn Qayyim said, he said their only concern and worry is about Allah and acting for His sake. And that comes back to intentions. We know that we can do like we can do, the secular things. We can get engaged in our jobs and school and etc., right? And that's fine, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do that. But as long as we have the right intention. As long as we have the right intention, then all of that becomes hasanat for us. Ends up on our good scale. The last thing that is mentioned is the person is careful to use their spare time in worshiping Allah. And I think that we have to always then kind of remember, like, when we have time out of our day, how are we spending it? We can spend it as we wish, and it's fine to relax. But if we're doing more relaxing than we are worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we have to kind of reanalyze our life and think, okay, where are we going wrong? When am I making the time to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And unless we make that cognizant effort, then it's not going to happen. Unless you can really say that, okay, at this time, on this day, with this exact goal, I'm going to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's difficult otherwise, right? So we have to be very specific with our planning, very specific with our intentions, so that we can be careful of how we're spending our time. Inshallah, jazakumullah khairan. I'll move into the du'as. اللهم أنت ربي لا إله إلا أنت خلقتني وأنا عبدك وأنا على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت وأبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت أعوذ بكلمات الله التامة من شر ما خلق أعوذ بكلمات الله التامة من شر ما خلق أعوذ بكلمات الله التامة من شر ما خلق
آمين.
ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم
آمين.
إني أسألك عافية في الدنيا والآخرة اللهم إني أسألك عفو
آمين.
والعافية في ديني ودنياي وأهلي ومالي اللهم استر عوراتي وآمن روعاتي
آمين.
اللهم احفظني من بين يدي ومن خلفي وعن يميني وعن شمالي ومن فوقي وأعوذ بعظمتك أن أغتال من تحتي سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر جزاكم الله خيرا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.